Responsible adults know that they shouldn't drink and drive, and the easiest way to avoid expensive consequences is to simply never get behind the wheel after drinking. With that said, people aren't perfect, and sometimes mistakes happen. Understanding the legal aspects of drunk driving laws can help make you a more informed and responsible driver.
The first thing I normally talk to my clients about is the stop was your fault. In other words, you normally get stopped because 1, you're speeding, 2, you're weaving in and out, 3, you don't stop when you leave a parking lot, for instance. If you leave a restaurant or a bar, if you don't come to a complete stop before pulling out, that's the reason to be pulled over. Another is, in the winter, you don't uncover the snow from your license plate. So the first point is, the stop is normally the fault of the driver.
Jason Elmore is an attorney with the McCurdy, Wotilla, and Porteous law firm. He says that law enforcement officials must follow certain procedures when investigating a drinking and driving situation, and it can be important to be informed about that process.
The second step is, when the police officers pull you over, they go through 3 phases before they can arrest you. The first phase is the observations of how you're driving, and that gives them what's called the reasonable suspicion to be able to conduct the stop. The second phase is where they do mental observations. That's when they're talking to the person. They get the person to roll down the window, they engage them in conversation, ask them a handful of questions, get them to face them and talk. And what they're looking for is to see how nervous the individual is, how clear of thought they are, how clear their language is. And they're also, though, looking for the smell of alcohol, of course.
Driving on Michigan roads is considered a privilege and not a right. That distinction means that we all give implied consent to police officers under certain circumstances.
Then stage 3, or phase 3, is broken down into 2 parts. The first part are the field sobriety tests. The second is the preliminary breath test. Now we know in Michigan we have what's called the implied consent law.
Currently, the legal blood alcohol limit is 0.08% in Michigan. A person who is above this limit can be considered impaired under the law, but it's important to understand that there are varieties of drinking-related offenses, and not all of them are based on this 0.08 number.
After an arrest, the police report goes to the prosecutor's office, and they'll determine whether a person should be charged with a criminal offense. And there are a handful of criminal offenses. There's operating while visibly impaired, which is the lowest level of drinking and driving. Then there is the operating while intoxicated. Now that's the standard one everybody's most familiar with, and that is the 0.08 or above. But you could actually be charged with that same offense even if your blood alcohol level isn't exactly that high. Remember, they're looking at how you operate a car, and the definition of under the influence means that it's impairing your ability to drive. It just happens to be that 0.08 is drunk per se.
It's a well-known fact that a drunk driving offense can be expensive, but the consequences go far beyond just money and can dramatically affect a person's life.
In courts, underneath the drinking and driving offense, the penalties are quite significant. They're looking at anywhere from 0 to 93 days of confinement, or even up to a year if they're repeat offenders. And if they are facing a third drinking and driving, then they're subject to felony charges and felony and automatic time required minimums in confinement. And the punishments are often very excessive fines, anywhere from, when you look at fines and costs, anywhere from $800 to $2,000 in fines and costs.
It goes without saying that not drinking and driving is the best way to avoid those penalties. However, people who find themselves in a bad situation should know that they do have legal rights.
Defending a drinking and driving case can be very, very expensive. That should be enough of a deterrent for people to realize, I don't want to be in court. I don't want to get pulled over. I do not want to have to hire a defense attorney to get me out of this. But if you find yourself in that position, you should hire an attorney who knows the process, the procedure, and the law to help you get the best result.
With My News 26, I'm Abigail Blackrick.